The anime opens with Crelancelo's childhood, as he was abandoned by his parents and brought to an orphanage where he grew up with Azalie, whom he considered his sister. As they matured, Azalie turned out to be mischievous, always playing pranks on Crealancelo. However, a few years later, she was recognized as a potential sorcerer and was taken to the Tower of Fangs. Crealancelo watched her and her cousin Tish leave him behind, vowing to reunite with them. Later, Crealancelo also joined the Tower of Fangs and studied under Childman, one of the most powerful sorcerers in the world. Childman established his class to transform his students into assassins who carry out missions for the Tower of Fangs. But his class was also the most troublesome one. During one of their magic practices, Azalie decided to confront her master. Their spells clashed and nearly destroyed the whole building, but Crealancelo intervened and used his power to cancel out their magic, establishing himself as the strongest sorcerer. From that point on, Childman chose him as his successor and trained him in all his skills. However, Azalie was infatuated with her master and attempted to gain his attention by sabotaging various training exercises and inventions, testing Crealancelo's abilities. One of their classmates created a new robot, which Azalie manipulated with a spell to go crazy. Crealancelo had to intervene and clean up the chaos with his own spell. Azalie then brought Crealancelo to their former orphanage and her family's grave, but suddenly disappeared. Crealancelo searched tirelessly until he heard a voice telling him to return to the orphanage if he wanted to save his sister. When he arrived, he was attacked, but managed to fight off the assailant and eventually found Azalie's head on the floor. A mysterious shadow woman appeared, and after Azalie's head vanished, she informed Crealancelo that this would happen in the future. Crealancelo used his spell to defeat the shadow woman and destroyed the building in the process. Azalie was hiding in a nearby house, having projected herself as a shadow illusion to test his abilities, and realized that he was much stronger than she had anticipated. When Azalie reappeared, Crealancelo demanded an apology for her behavior, but she thanked him and warned him to find her if anything happened to her in the future. Crealancelo cried for the perceived loss of his sister, but was relieved to discover that she was alive. At the tower, Azalie and Childman are testing a new spell using the Sword of Baltenders on the same night. Crealancelo senses something wrong with Azalie and hurries to her location. He finds his master collapsed on the ground and Azalie at an altar holding her head. She tells him to leave and not look at her, but Crealancelo is unable to move or turn away. Suddenly, Azalie's back sprouts wings, and she transforms into a dragon, attempting to fly away. The sorceress tries to kill her, but Crealancelo nullifies their magic, allowing Azalie to escape. The tower covers up the incident by setting a funeral, but Crealancelo believes Azalie is still alive and leaves the school, taking on the name Orphen. He spends the next 5 years searching for the Sword of Baltenders to find his sister, whom he believes is still alive. Eventually, he learns that the sword is protected by the Everlasting Family and attempts to persuade them to give it to him. However, they refuse to believe him, including their youngest daughter, Cleao. The police are being called, but she believes the person and provides the location. Azalie arrives and destroys the roof, causing Orphen to approach her in an attempt to make her remember him. He has been tirelessly searching for her, but Azalie uses a spell against him. Orphen manages to block it, but Azalie takes the sword and flies away. 9 mages try to attack Azalie, but Orphen takes out half of them. Childman and his remaining mages cast spells, and Orphen must use his strongest magic to block them. Orphen tries to warn Childman that Azalie is the dragon, but Azalie becomes frightened and tries to kill him with a spell. Orphen later learns from his master that Azalie was in a deep sleep for 5 years. Childman requests Orphen's help to find Azalie, and he accepts after repairing the damage. Cleao gives Orphen a ring as a thank you gift, which he recognizes as Azalie's former ring, capable of protecting the wearer from white magic, which is Azalie's strongest magic. He eats the object to keep it hidden, and later discovers that Childman's group intends to harm Azalie. He decides to search for her alone and calls out her name, causing a fire to break out in the woods. Azalie attacks him with magic flames, and they engage in a powerful magical battle. Orphen suffers several injuries and realizes that Azalie has transformed into a monstrous being. He feels that she has lost herself and thinks that he is about to die. Childman and his group arrive and attempt to defeat Azalie, but their efforts fail. Orphen protects Azalie, and Childman ends up betraying his own student by stabbing Orphen. However, Childman ultimately manages to overpower Azalie and defeat her by tearing her dragon body apart. Afterward, Childman heals Orphen and explains that he only attacked him to prevent him from interfering with the fight against Azalie. Orphen dashes towards the lifeless head of the dragon and drops down to his knees, wailing for Azalie's demise. Azalie had been his lifelong companion and constant support during his times of need, but he couldn't prevent her fate. Through a telepathic connection with the dying dragon, he manages to hear its final words, revealing what really occurred. The following day, Orphen confronts Childman, who is preparing to depart. Orphen observes that Childman is speaking more than usual, revealing that he knows the truth. Childman is Azalie. During a previous encounter, she swapped her soul with Childman's. Orphen inquires how Azalie could bring herself to slay their mentor. Unbeknownst to him, Azalie harbored a romantic interest in Childman, who spurned her. In an attempt to win his affection, she attempted to become more powerful, but the experiment failed. Since then, Childman has been attempting to kill her to conceal his experiment. However, Orphen pardons her, believing that she will rue her actions. Before departing, she mentions that her metamorphosis was a result of a major secret of their world. Orphen proceeds to the Tower of Fangs, where he intends to explore the secret Azalie mentioned. However, he is taken aback to discover Cleao and Majic, who have covertly boarded his carriage. Cleao yearns for an exciting quest to retrieve the sword, while Majic seeks magical tutelage from Orphen. As they approach the outskirts of Tafram, Magic's spellcasting practice causes a bit of a problem. Orphen, using his gift of gab, smooths things over with their would-be foe, but he later realizes that his necklace is missing. Upon returning to the scene of their previous encounter, Orphen discovers the lifeless body of the man he had just spoken to, and his necklace hangs menacingly from a dagger on the wall with a note inquiring about Childman's true successor. Preparing for a fight, they set up camp, but before long, a thief appears and uses teleporting magic to attack them. Orphen, stunned by the attacker's knowledge of the Tower of Fangs' unique spell, tries to retaliate. But the man is too powerful, easily overpowering Orphen and striking a fatal blow on Majic and Cleao. However, Letitia, Orphen's childhood friend and Azalie's cousin, saves the day by throwing a dagger at the attacker's arm, causing him to miss his killing blow. The attacker reveals his face to be that of Cleao doppelganger from 5 years ago, shocking everyone. The man disappears once more, using his teleportation magic. Orphen and his companions then head to Tafram with Letitia, who informs them about the recent murder of the Tower Elders and the Tower's suspicion of the doppelganger. Taking them into her abode, she requests their presence for a while. When nighttime falls, Orphen confides in Letitia about the happenings of Azalie and Childman. However, the assassin they had been searching for suddenly appears at Letitia's dwelling, introducing himself as Cleao, the true successor to Childman's legacy, capable of fulfilling assassination missions unlike Orphen. The imposter Cleao claims to be the successor that Childman always desired, before disappearing. Letitia then informs Orphen that chaos has arisen after Childman's demise, with various sorcerers vying for his position, especially since Orphen is not there to take his place. The imposter wishes to eliminate Orphen to claim his spot as Childman's successor. Orphen learns that the imposter has abducted Cleao and fled to Childman's house. Determined to confront the imposter Cleao alone, Orphen charges in, ready for the challenge. The imposter reveals his motive for fighting Orphen: to acquire Azalie, who requires him for a grander scheme, and to make Orphen regain his former powers. However, he also wants to destroy Orphen because Azalie already has a stronger and more dependable imposter. With his Sword of Balltender's might, the phony Cleao proves a difficult opponent for Orphen, but with an unwavering commitment to safeguarding his companions, Orphen ultimately emerges victorious. Azalie appears and sheds light on why Childman chose Orphen as his successor. She reveals that she had the power to defeat Childman with her white magic, so Childman trained Orphen to kill her. This was because Childman knew of a great secret in the world. Orphen wakes up in Letitia's home only to be attacked by a masked man who asks about the Browning family's map. Confused, Orphen has no idea what the man is talking about, and the man escapes as Cleao and Majic arrive. Letitia then gives Orphen a document stating that he still belongs to the tower, but he had to leave to complete a mission. Orphen is summoned to see Fort, his old classmate, who is filling in for Childman. Fort informs Orphen that Cleao wants Childman's position in the Tower of Fangs and the Witch Association, and attempted to assassinate Fort. Fort requests Orphen's help to defeat Cleao and his henchmen before they kill all of Childman's students. Orphen confronts Cleao about this new information and the masked man. But Cleao remains indifferent and claims his men found them motionless. Orphen issues a warning to his foe, declaring that if he lays a finger on any of his companions, he will face the ultimate consequences: death. However, Cleao cautions him against turning him into an adversary, revealing that he should have killed him during his tutelage under Childman. Later, Orphen discovers Cleao injured on the ground with a head wound, as Tiphys informs him of a masked man's attack on her. Letitia is pursuing the assailant, but he manages to evade her. Patricia reveals that the culprit is dressed in the same combat attire as the Tower of Fang's Black Sorcerers. This triggers Orphen's memory of a similar incident in which he was attacked by a masked man. He uses his powers to heal Cleao and searches for the culprit. Along the way, he discovers Letitia unconscious and nurses her back to health. When she regains consciousness, she reveals that she heard Azalie's voice. Orphen realizes that Azalie saved her life at the last moment and left. He is overcome with fury because his loved ones have been hurt, and he swears to take revenge on those responsible. Later that night, Orphen meets Azalie, who informs him about the Browning family map that Cleao's disciples are after. She claims it to be a magical book once owned by the King of Majic, containing the most powerful spell that can bring about the world's destruction. Childman had been the previous owner of the book, with Orphen being the current one. In preparation for an attack from Hydrant and his cohorts, Orphen was warned to get ready. Orphen, along with Majic and Cleao, made their way into the tower, but they were soon discovered by Hydrant, who used his sword to attack them. Orphen managed to escape and engaged Hydrant in a one-on-one battle in a different location. 5 years earlier, Orphen was chosen to be one of the most powerful mages in the world, but the tower feared losing him, as he was the only one capable of killing Azalie, the Chaos Witch. Therefore, they sent Hydrant to stop him from becoming a court magician. Though Orphen almost killed him, he was left with a scar on his face, and his hopes of becoming a royal magician were dashed. Hydrant revealed that he didn't care about the book but wanted revenge for what had happened 5 years ago. Orphen and Hydrant engaged in a physical fight, and Orphen used the skills taught to him by Childman to overpower his opponent. However, Hydrant reminded Orphen that those skills were acquired to kill Azalie. This infuriated Orphen, who then decided to kill Hydrant. But Cleao's pet managed to teleport her to the location, and she managed to prevent Orphen from committing murder. Eventually, Orphen and Cleao went to the location where Cleao and his disciples had obtained the magic book. It was discovered that Childman had been the last owner of the book before it came into Orphen's possession. Orphen had slyly switched the enchanted tome with Cleao's personal journal, much to Cleao's fury. In retaliation, he incited his classmates to take Orphen's life. However, Fort intervened to aid him in the looming confrontation, as Cleao and his cronies prepared for battle. Fort dropped a bombshell. They were all guilty of multiple homicides, and would soon face justice. Suddenly, Azalie made an unexpected appearance, revealing herself to be the instigator of the tower's chaos. Despite Cleao's attack, Orphen protected his sister and utilized Childman's ultimate technique to vanquish his foe. In the aftermath, Azalie admitted to her true motives, obtaining the magic book. She vanished into thin air, urging Orphen to fulfill his pledge and seek her out. So that's for today. Make sure to subscribe for more videos like this.